because I see a hero has come through the door. So we're going to be okay. Two heroes have come through the door. Okay. So we would like to start this meeting with some of our preliminary issues. One being calling the meeting to order so that we can start straight down the agenda. Currently, we have a quorum, and we will be able to vote on some of our business issues this evening. But as you know, we have public comment not only at the beginning of our meetings, but at the end of our meetings, in case people are interested in articulating anything that they feel is relevant to what we are doing here in these seats. At this time, there is no one here for public comment in person. We can proceed on to the minutes and see and ask for our dutiful staff members to take us through this agenda quickly.
A motion to approve the minutes?
Do we have a second?
I second.
Do we have a full vote for the past minutes? Can we get a roll call, please?
Chair Hayes?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so very much, everyone. We are now going to talk about what I think everyone is here for this evening, and that is the presentation of our social service partners that have been doing diligent work in the community. They will be presenting some of their wares, because as we go into reviewing case management and safety net programs. I believe that we are starting with YOU. No, I'm sorry.
Actually, Chair, while we are working to make sure that our video is up and running, if we could start with the participants who are present. We'll still go in reverse alphabetical order. I believe the questions that have been presented to the agencies are in front of you. And yep, we have the Moran Center. Actually, Meals, do you want to go first? Sure. Michael Brody, board member of Meals on Wheels, is here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you.
Welcome,
Chair.
Mr. Brody.
Oh,
How are you this evening?
Thank you, Chair Hayes. I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Mhm.
I'm Michael Brody. I'm the board chair of Meals on Wheels of Northeastern Illinois. I'm an Evanstonian, and I'm happy to be here to answer your questions, which we received in advance. In looking at the minutes of your last meeting, I saw there were a couple of questions that from prior meetings that weren't answered that I thought I would start off with. There was a question about the number of volunteer hours, and our current rate of volunteer hours is approximately 250 per week. That consists of kitchen volunteers, packers, people who deliver meals, people who work in the office, and people like me who just come in for tasks when needed. There was also a question on the number of meals that are delivered. Our current rate is 2,890 meals a week. So that answers those questions. We're happy to be here. Very appreciative for the support that Evanston has given Meals on Wheels over the years. It's been a very important part of our support and funding. We feel we're an important part of the Evanston community, and the Evanston community is important for us. Our office is located in the 5th Ward, and it has served as a focal point for recent activities. I know that within the last couple of weeks, when Dolores Holmes passed away, there was kind of a spontaneous gathering at the mural outside on the wall of our building, and volunteers came out and catered it. And that's part of our commitment to the community. So would you like me just to run through the questions as asked, or? Okay, thank you. The first question asked, how is our wait list managed? Eligible clients on the wait list are offered to participate in a study we are doing in conjunction with Brown University. They are funding meals for people if they participate in the program, which requires them, in addition to doing just the general receiving the meals, they have to answer some questions that allow Brown to study the efficacy of home delivered meals. Beyond that, people get off the wait list as we have available means to support them. The next question was, how are applicants prioritized? We charge $10 for a meal. Most clients pay a fraction of that, $1.50, $1 less than that. If someone is able to pay the full price, we can put them to the top of the list. Other than that, we prioritize people based on availability of spots for us to be able to provide the meals. We have to balance our need. We lose money on every meal we offer, and we just need to fundraise to deliver more. The drop in Evanston enrollment was due to us not being able to afford more subsidized clients. And with some funding from Age Options, we've expanded some congregate meal programs, cafes and such, where we have a slightly better return on our cost. How are services advertised, we were asked. Meals on Wheels America has a search tool. There are web searches, our webpage, Facebook. We don't advertise because we have more people than we can serve. But we do have a lot of outreach in the Evanston community and elsewhere. As I mentioned, we have hundreds of volunteers. Many of them are Evanstonians. We interact with Evanston organizations, the Rotary, other organizations to get the word out of what we're doing. And we work with community organizations and churches. One thing we did within the last couple of days, a donor of ours who's also active with the Erie Family Health Center participated in our Thanksgiving pie sale, purchased a large number of pies and distributed them to people at Erie. So it's another way in which we stay plugged into our community. And are there changes to our partnerships and resources that impact our service delivery? Not in a bad way. In October, we expanded our involvement with Age Options, which allowed us to do additional programming through the Older American Act. But beyond that, we're just continuing as we have. So those are the answers to the questions posed. If anybody has any more questions, I'd answer them.
Thank you so much for exercising your time, and we're getting used to the ding dongs up here.
Me too.
This is a whole new thing for all of us tonight. You all have expanded your catchment group, have you not?
Our service area?
Service area and catchment group.
Practically, yes. Technically, no. I think our service area remains the same. Under the Meals on Wheels world, we do not include the city of Chicago, and we go north to the border of Wisconsin. I think our service area is closer to where we are now, but we have gone a little further north as opportunities are presented, but we're basically in the same area, but that's the area we serve.
So the nucleus of your area is still Evanston
Yeah, in
service.
yeah, exactly, yes. In recent months, years, there's been talk within the organization of building a second kitchen further north to expand further north. We as a board decided that we just didn't have the resources to do that, and we wanted to concentrate where we are. So we're committed to the location we serve, which is on Simpson, and our operations operate out of there.
And what is the turnaround time from the time clients are either referred to you or sign up with you to the time that they receive a meal?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's okay.
I can provide it. I think when people are served, we add them pretty quickly. When people are approved, we add them pretty quickly. But I don't know the answer offhand.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you. Did anyone else have some questions for this gentleman? Go right ahead.
Of course.
Oh. Hi, I have a question. Would it help you to kind of do a collab with ETHS for community service hours? And I mean, if you could do that with those kids, would it even help you or?
The answer I think is yes.
Mhm.
We have lots of opportunities for people to volunteer. When I was there on Tuesday night packing pies, we had a mother and her high school age daughter who were volunteering. I know they have to, if they want to deliver meals, they have to be of a certain age, obviously, to drive. But the answer I think is yes. And I know we've had groups like that come in, but I don't know if we have a relationship with ETHS.
No, that was, would it help you to have one? Like, I don't,
Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
I can mention that to the volunteer coordinator.
yeah, because the kids are always looking for ways to obviously serve in the community for community service hours.
Yeah.
A lot of it goes to their sporting events and whatever other events they have over there at ETHS, and they get service hours for it. So it'd be nice to see if they could help you guys out since it's right down the street.
That'd be perfect. Is there a person at the high school we should contact or?
I don't know, but I would start with the superintendent. I always say start with the head. That way you know you got the right one.
Uh,
Yeah, Superintendent Marcus
Campbell,
Campbell.
Yeah, I can speak to him.
Questions for this particular group?
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I do have one other question, and it has to do to the issue of language and culture. How diversified are the languages that you use in your organization? Latin, Latinx, French Creole, African languages. I mean, I'm sure your community is diverse. Do you have language barriers or language issues?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that we have menus designed for people of different interests. We've added a Latin themed menu. I know that people in the office communicate with clients in English and Spanish, but I don't know beyond that if we do. I'll see if I can find you an answer. Okay. Oh, of course.
Real quick question. Do you have a drop-in of some sort where the community could come by and get sandwiches or like a little paper lunch bag?
We don't do that. I know
Okay.
from time to time, people come by and ask for food.
Yeah.
I know the staff will, if they have extra, will hand it out. But that's not something we do on a regular basis. I know a year or two ago, there was talk about installing one of those community refrigerators.
Mm.
And I don't think that worked. And I don't know why. I can't remember why that didn't happen.
Oh, okay. Because I know Connections is right there. So after their drop-in hours, I'm thinking, I know that Evanston has a very unique system in the drop-in systems. Like if the church is 10 to noon, then the next church, which is not that far, is noon to 2. Like I was wondering if they could do something like that since you're right in the 5th Ward where there's a lot of individuals that are housing insecure and compromised.
Yeah, our space is pretty small and we don't really have room to have people like that, but
Right, that's why I said drop in.
Yeah,
Like
no,
maybe it could be like a bin or a
Yeah.
bell. I don't know.
I
I'm just,
I think
whatever.
that's a good idea. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's also the kind of thing we could collaborate with organizations because we have a kitchen and we,
yeah, because I know you get that question a lot. Can you just give out sandwiches or what have you? So I was just curious on that.
I know it happens on an ad hoc basis. I don't think that's a.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks.
Okay, I apologize, committee members. I was a little bit flustered at the beginning of this meeting. So let me first say Jessica Wingeter, Senior Grants and Compliance Specialist with the Community Development Department. And for those who will be at the podium, we are using our timer. So you'll notice a little box up at the front. Everyone's given 5 minutes to present. When you're close to your time, you'll get a yellow flash When you're at your time, you will get a red flash and you will hear dinging. Staff could, yep, there it is. Staff could come up to the dais if it would be helpful and work the timer. And that way we can, if that would be helpful.
And
Okay.
if I may clarify, the 5 minute is to cover the question. There's no formal presentation or anything like that.
Correct. Yes.
While we do this, I'm gonna test if the sound has been fixed. If somebody in the remote audience is able to raise their hand so we can test, allow them to talk. Here we go. So Hillary, I'm gonna allow you to talk and we're hoping we can hear you.
Hey, everybody. Can you
Okay.
hear?
We cannot hear it very well. I'm going to mute you. Again, we're going to proceed with the rest of the presentation, and we'll get back to you very shortly about this. Thank you so much, Hillary.
So, yes, so, okay, she's still doing something.
I don't think so. I think you can go.
All right, so we are going to move ahead while they are still working out the kinks in the technology. We would love to have a conversation with the Moran Center. So come on up and share your good news with us.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. Thanks for having us here. My name is Kristen Kennard. I am the Deputy Director and the Director of Social Work Services at the Moran Center. So I am going to address questions for the case management program, and then Patrick will take over for Safety Net. So the first question was about, and if I'm answering them in a way that you did not mean it, please let me know and give me any feedback you need to. Describe general service plan updates. So whenever new clients come into our social work program, which is both case management and therapy for some clients, therapeutic services, within the first month or so, we create a treatment plan and a case management plan. That includes talking through kind of what their personal goals are, action steps to meet those goals, what that looks like, what they are going to do, if there's anything we need to do as a clinician or as a case manager, and kind of a timeline to do that. We typically will review case management plans at least every 3 months with clients, go back and kind of see where we're at and review those. But honestly, most of the time it's more often because we really focus our sessions with them, depending again, if it's therapy or case management, on that. We'll also go back and revisit them if they're kind of off track or they feel like something has now prioritized over what we have on that plan. So we really do rely a lot on the case management plans and circling back. So I know when it talks about kind of general service plan updates, we definitely do it every 3 months if we haven't gone back into them, but we really do focus throughout our time with clients on those. And then obviously once they complete goals or complete tasks, we're able to check those off, and whether they have other things to add, we can, or if they've completed everything they want to, then that's when we'll start processing, kind of terminating and moving them forward with any other referrals or any other services they may need. Did that answer that question? Yeah, okay. And then the other question, what makes up a referral and what triggers a referral to be measured and recorded? So we as case managers refer both internally at Moran Center to our legal teams, as well as externally, obviously, to all our different community partners. When we document any referral from the beginning. So if I'm reaching out to Youth Job Center, we have a legal server, which is what we keep all of our documentation in. We can track referrals in there. And so from that first referral, we'll make sure to document that. We really believe in warm handoff. So we, most of the time, whenever we can, we're not just giving a number to a client or telling them to call or to reach out. We will, if they want us to do that with them, we will make the call. We'll go over there with them the first time. And so we keep documentation of all of that. There's obviously certain referrals that aren't successful. And so we document when we make additional attempts and don't hear anything back, and or when a referral is successful and we're able to connect them with services. And usually at that point, the two different agencies then are collaborating ongoing then too. And so whether it's just through the client or we're communicating as service providers, we continue to do that, and that is all tracked in our legal service system as well. Those were the only two, case management, unless you all have anything.
Management but stand by in case
Sure.
there are other questions
No problem.
that arise.
I get 5 minutes too?
Hey,
Hey.
we're a class act up here.
Wow, I was thinking I had a minute and 28 seconds. So, good evening, committee members, Madam Chair. My name is Patrick Keenan Devlin. I'm the Executive Director and Youth Defense Attorney at the James B. Moran Center for Youth Advocacy. My colleague Kristen addressed the case management questions the committee posed. I'm going to be addressing the safety net questions, and I will be brief. The committee had a lot of questions regarding trends that we've seen in cases and case types. The first is just breaking it down. We really have three practice areas at the Moran Center, one being our criminal, so our emerging adult and juvenile defense, youth defense practice, our civil practice where we represent families with children in our schools and civil proceedings, and then our education practice, we represent children with special education school discipline proceedings. So in our criminal practice, we did see last fiscal year an increase in criminal cases, both in our adult and juvenile practice. It was up 9% last year. In looking at case types, so possessions of stolen motor vehicles, aggravated batteries, we didn't notice any significant trends in comparing FY23 to FY24. In terms of our civil caseload, it actually was incredibly static between those two fiscal years, though the case types varied, I wouldn't say significantly, but enough that it's worthy of making a note to this committee. We saw an increase in housing cases, so evictions and foreclosures, going from 56 to 70, again, 56 in FY23, 70 in FY24. We also saw an increase in the number of immigration cases, and that, I see a lot of physical affirmations, unsurprising to this committee. I would say that as it relates to the Moran Center, specifically unremarkable in that we hosted an immigration clinic. And so we, of course, then saw an increase in immigration cases. We're actually in the process of increasing our capacity to take on immigration cases. For those of you who've known the Moran Center for quite some time, we are not an immigration firm, but given the crisis in our country, we are trying to ramp up efforts to meet community needs. So more on that at City Council, hopefully next week, where Ike will be presenting on a plan that we have coordinated with the city. We saw an increase of 10.8% in education cases, again, comparing FY23 and FY24. Of note, too, it was particularly an increase in special education cases. So cases where we're representing children with 504 plans or individualized education programs needing modification or securing those rights under federal and state law. In looking at demographics, income levels, we did not see any significant trends in our cases. I have a minute and 38 seconds, so I'm going to take it and just tell you and answer a question you didn't ask, which is I got a report just yesterday from our program data analyst at Moran Center, and we have invested a lot of time, energy, and resources into our organizational and programmatic metrics, particularly over the last 3 years, and we just now have 3-year data. So just something really cool. We have improved client self-efficacy by 77%, and that's measured by both clinician surveys and attorney surveys when they are closing a case. We then improved outlooks and opportunities for our clients by 76%, and that involved securing additional benefits for clients, ensuring that criminal cases are eligible for expungement or sealing, improving grades or school discipline performance, and also client surveying. And then Kristen mentioned, a really important part of our programming, which is referrals, and we were successful 92% of the time over this 3-year period in securing additional services for our clients. So an executive director couldn't get a report like that and not present it tonight. So
Appreciate you doing that. Were there any additional questions for the Moran Center casework or not? I hope that you are able to continue to work with people being able to get legal representation. I know we are all looking at different sites differently and are concerned about all of our neighbors, especially those who are trying to reassimilate into the community. So I hope that works out more. Are you working with any of the bar associations in specific that have the focus on immigration as well as expungement?
yeah, we have a really deep relationship with North Suburban Legal Aid Center, which is based in Highland Park. They're our region's expert in immigration matters. We actually recently brought them in to do a full training for all youth and family serving organizations in our community. It was really well attended. So we are learning from our big brothers and sisters at North Suburban Legal Aid to, again, ramp up our efforts to be Evanston's local resource. In terms of expungement and sealing work, or what we often refer to it as criminal record relief work, we are part of statewide coalitions, Access to Justice being one, and the other is the Illinois Equal Justice Foundation's New Leaf Initiative, which is focused specifically on helping folks remediate their cannabis convictions. So we are in dialogue with partners, not just in the region, but all across the state in that particular practice area. I realize this is a non-political body, but I will just quickly say that last week, the Chicago Bar Foundation convened all legal aid providers in the region to workshop various crises that we're anticipating from the White House. So we are also trying to gear up as lawyers to respond to any policy changes from the federal government.
Hi.
Hi, Ms. Fernandez.
How are you? Could you please elaborate a little bit more about the immigration? I don't know if it's workshops or you are providing with information to the immigrant community?
Yes. So
does it work?
what we have done thus far is hosted a TPS clinic, so a temporary protective status clinic. We have helped children and their caregivers apply for EAD or work authorization. We've also supported children in applying for special status in this country. So there are types of immigration relief that we are ramping up our ability to learn about and then provide services to children and families in our community. Excitingly, we, I think I can announce this, we just secured a fellow. Skadden is a very prestigious law firm in the United States of America, and they have a 2-year fellowship where they sponsor recent graduates to work at nonprofit public interest organizations. And we have a young woman who just secured a Skadden Fellowship. So starting in fall of 2025, we will actually have a immigration attorney on staff. And we're figuring out how to best support her as a recent graduate in engaging in that work. But really excited that we will soon have a member of our staff wholly dedicated to immigration law.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My last question is, will you be recruiting 7-Elevens during the years to come to help you support the legal work, research, and so forth, as well as giving them experience from a wide variety of colleges and universities throughout the country?
Yes, almost at any given point, Madam Chair, we have a 7-Eleven or a pre-licensed attorney sanctioned by the Supreme Court to practice with supervision. So yes, almost at any given time, we have a law clerk with a 7-Eleven license. We have really excellent relationships with all of our law schools, University of Chicago, Northwestern, Loyola. We do. So very grateful to have law clerks supporting our work.
Thank you very much. I guess that is all the questions for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So next we have Kelsey Casperson with Connections.
Hello. I'm going to speak to our case management grant. And then my colleague Victor Ponce, who's the manager of drop-in and outreach services at Connections, will speak to our safety net grant, if that's all right. So thank you for sending questions in advance. It's always helpful to have little guide rails. So some of the general questions were also kind of around some of the systemic kind of increases in demand for services. And at the core of causes for increases in demand is that more and more people are at risk or actively experiencing homelessness. In part, this is due to the influx of unhoused migrants, but also the inaffordability of housing across the state, specifically in the North suburban Cook region. So some stats for you, according to the most recent PIT count, which is the point in time count data, between 2022 and 2023, there was an increase in homelessness of 30% across the state. Specifically to North suburban Cook County, there was an increase in youth homelessness by 14% of school-aged youth, and more specifically to our youth program, which is transition-age youth between the ages of 18 and 25. There was an increase in nearly 63% of homelessness just in that 1 year period. We're also seeing across the state, as well as more regionally, increases in family homelessness. We saw a 10% increase in homelessness in families with children from 2022 to 2023, and a further 12% increase from 2023 to 2024. So this is a crisis. We assume that these are reasons for increased need for our services. One of the other questions that came through the committee, thank you, was updates that, speaking to service plan updates. Service plans are updated on at least a weekly basis between enrolled young people and our case managers. Specifically, service plan goals are added as life milestones are achieved or life circumstances change. So an example of that might be someone was seeking emergency shelter, they secured said shelter. We operate on a housing first model, which means that we believe that securing housing is the first step to stability in other realms of health and well-being. So a new service plan goal may be to reconnect into a education program, maybe to secure a job. So how we report out on the service plan updates is when those milestones are reached or those life circumstances change. I hope that clarifies the question. General outcomes of those that exited within the 6-month reporting period. I was really excited to connect with our manager, one of our managers of our youth program, who is saying, I think in her words, things are going really, really well. Like everybody's doing really, really great. But general outcomes for folks that exit our program are they're actually connected into what we call our aftercare program, which is a light touch case management program. And light touch can be on a weekly basis. We start on a weekly basis. It can be up to on a monthly basis. We continue to engage with youth and then kind of let them dictate what their needs are. So in talking with our program managers earlier this week, well, earlier today, candidly, Sabrina shared out with me that a couple that had recently exited from the program, that had recently had a baby in the program, are both maintaining employment. They are, in her words, barely involved in our case management program. They have a lease under their own name. I forgot to say if households or young people are in our aftercare program, they are holding a lease in their own name or maybe in partnership with a roommate. So outside of our aftercare program, though, there are a handful of young people that were reunified with families. We have at the core of our program reunification as kind of a first step. If there's the possibility of reunification with family, and if not, that's what we're here for. So those are kind of some of the general outcomes of those that exited between January and June. And then I think the last question, if I could have 25 more seconds, was around diversion strategies. So our diversion strategies are mostly housed within our outreach component. We have 2 system navigators that work with folks. And in my conversation and looking through some of our data, it looked like there were no cases in the last 6 months where there was someone that outreached for shelter that was not either able to be connected into one of our shelter beds or one of our partner shelter beds or be reunified with family or a close friend. So we actively work with the Harbor, La Casa Norte, Northwest Compass, Journeys, A Safe Haven, Night Ministry, Ignite, within our youth program. We also maintain 4 emergency shelter beds dedicated for transition age youth at the Margarita, as well as 2 kind of weather contingent emergency beds at our house, which is a separate transitional living program. Those 6 beds were full for the entirety of the 6-month reporting period. But we're grateful to our partners to have a broader net that we can cast upon as needed. Yes, Ms. Hayes.
We're going to have to ask your partner to come forward and give his presentation, but if you both would, we would appreciate that you both stay around so that questions can be asked of both programs, please.
Sounds good. So Victor, present and then ask. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Doorbell's ringing over here. That sounds like a good sound, right?
All right.
Good evening, Victor. How are you?
I'm
Thank you for
great.
coming.
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay. We're probably going to question both of your organizations at the same time.
Sure.
Because I'm sure there are plenty of questions that we have. We may not be able to get to all of them this evening, so be patient with us.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Victor Ponce, and the program manager of Drop-In and Outreach. And so I'm going to cover a couple of the questions that were asked. Describe partnerships that assist with outreach or provide services. As Drop-In, we intersect and touch a lot of our partners. I work with a lot of the partners, and so does my team. One example is Interfaith Action, who hosts the Hospitality Center at St. Mark's Episcopal Church. We're in regular contact with them. They send us referrals to get into the overnight shelter. They come through Connection or Hilda's Place to get on the wait list for the overnight shelter. We work with other partners in the city. An example, they will send participants that they're working with that may have their experience in homelessness and need to get an intake to get connected to coordinated entry, to get connected to housing, and vice versa. If we're working with someone that is ready to address their substance use challenge, then, we refer back and forth. Also, we work with, also the second question is here with the care team, where, we meet, I attend their meetings once a month when they meet with the city outreach team. And also we're in regular contact. They're bringing folks to Drop-In, that they're engaging out in the community. And we're always available to, respond to their calls. They're saying, they'll bring someone, they're bringing someone, they found someone, and we're ready to accept them during our drop-in hours and provide, the basic needs that we do, lunches, showers, clothing, and all the things that we provide in case management, and get connected to our mental health professional and doctor and nurse as well. So, so we have a great connection, great relationship with them. Glad they're here and love working with them. And, we're always in communications. They have our contact, we have their contact. And so we work closely with them and really appreciate them a lot. So yeah, we're always, looking to work with more partners. Always, our door is always open to receive, participants that are literally experiencing homelessness and do what we can to engage them in the service, their basic needs that is needed, and also, hopefully get them connected to housing. Shelter, it's always a challenge. We don't have any immediate shelter in Evanston, and so that's always a challenge, but our case management team and outreach team are always working to see what we can find in the surrounding communities in Chicago, journeys, and whatever we could do, we try to figure it out so that no one's having to sleep outside or unsheltered, especially this time of the year. So it becomes even more of a challenge. And so, but we're here, and we're looking forward to continue to work and do more work. So, yeah.
I'm going to open this up to questions for the dais. I'm sure there are some. Who would like to go first? Okay.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me ask a question. Do you have staff that speaks Spanish or another language?
Yes, absolutely. We have Spanish. I'm Spanish speaking, and we have a couple other staff case managers that are Spanish speaking. Drop-in staff member that speaks Spanish. Yes.
And regarding your clients, what would be the percentage of Spanish speaking?
Can you repeat that question?
What would be the percentage of Spanish speaking clients in your agency?
So, yeah,
Percentage.
they would be meeting with, they come in the door and get registered for their services. If they're looking for a shower, looking for clothes, food, and then they will, then they'll do an intake with the case manager and then just kind of assess their situation, especially if they're experiencing homelessness, try to connect them to shelter, immediate shelter if it's available, and then work with them to gather any documents towards housing.
And
I
so
can-
Alicia's asking about the percentage.
The percentage of
Oh,
clients. I can
percentage. Oh, I'm
see-
sorry. I didn't catch that. Sorry. Yeah. So it varies, at the beginning of the year, say around April, we had a lot of immigrants, that were coming through drop-in. And so, we were working with them. So the percentage was a little higher in the beginning of the year. Now the percentage is probably about maybe 8%. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it's a lower number. But we do get some Spanish speakers coming through all the time.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. Sorry, I misunderstood the question.
Anybody else? Oh, go right ahead.
Hi,
Hello.
can you tell me how well the case management team works with the housing locators? And if they are working with them, how successful are the placements?
So yeah, so the way it works with us, we work with the Alliance to End Homelessness in suburban Cook County. So all our housing matches come through them. And once a participant that a case manager is working with is matched to housing, we work closely with what's called the receiving agency. They hold the subsidy for that housing match. And so the case managers are working closely with that, whether it's a housing specialist or a housing navigator or a case manager at the receiving agency. They are in daily contact with that person until the participant in the house. If there's any challenges around, background or challenges around documentation, case manager is there every step of the way, making sure that they have what they need to make that housing match successful.
Thank you.
Yes. That we have one.
I just wanted to let the committee know that apparently our sound is working, so we will be able to hear from participants attending virtually. We've
Wonderful.
heard from 3 agencies. We have about 10 more to go.
Okay.
I just wanted to put that out there.
So if there are some additional questions that we can submit to Connections with the Homeless and any of the others, because we have a time issue now, we will do so at a later date through the wonderful staff that has been kind enough to brave this weather and make magic with our electronics and stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, committee. Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. If I could try testing the sound again for a third try. I am going to try to let Hillary speak, and let's see if this works.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight?
We are doing wonderful
Oh,
now.
Hillary.
Thank
You
you.
can hear me. Great.
We can. How would the committee like to proceed? Should we go back in the order that we decided to go?
If we could please, I believe Hillary is with the YWCA of Evanston. Is that correct? If we could please have you give us a brief introduction to the YWCA. And I believe if anyone has questions, unfortunately, Ms. Hillary, we're going to push the time along a little bit, and that is of no personal shine against the YWCA. But we have 10 more people to go. So thank you for your patience, and our electronics, please start.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Hillary Dewin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the director of the Domestic Violence Department at YWCA Evanston, North Shore. It's great to be here. I actually only received one question ahead of time, which is what is the average length of time that households remain in our advocacy legal services? We provide these services on site at the Skokie Courthouse, and we now have 3 staff who provide services in 4 different languages. That's including court navigation, explaining their rights, filing paperwork, accompanying them to the actual court date. And the average length of most services is about 2 or 3 months while the case is in court. And then we provide follow-up for up to 2 years after that initial court date is over. It's linked to the length of time that emergency protective orders are. And so most plenary orders of protection, which is longer term orders of protection, last usually for up to 2 years. And so we really do stick with folks the entire time that the order is in place, and often help folks extend the order if necessary at the end of those 2 years too. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you have too, if there's time.
Are there any more questions from people on the dais? No, thank you very much, Hillary, for your time and effort. We greatly appreciate your service, and we hope if there are any further questions, we'll of course let you know through the staff here.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the continued support of the City of Evanston. Thanks so much.
Mhm.
Next, I would like to invite Teresa Cortez from the YOU.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Oh,
sure
great.
can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good. Like Jessica said, I'm Teresa Cordes. I'm the Director of Clinical and Outreach Services for YOU. And let me address the questions you presented. So you asked us to describe key performance indicators specific to safety net and how they are measured. This has been, basically we do this through case management, and we identify what is the most significant problem that's challenging the youth and the family, and what are the steps we need to take to help them address those issues and resolve those in a lasting way. It varies from family to family, and youth to youth. And so we're primarily looking at what are the comprehensive services we're able to provide that will prevent them from falling further into some of their challenges. describe the partnerships that help identify and serve homeless youth. We have many. The homeless youth that we primarily work with are ages 11 to 17. We are funded through CCBYS, Illinois Department of Human Services, to work specifically with the minors who become homeless, who are either locked out or refuse to go home. So we work very closely with the police department as well as local hospitals. We work closely with the Evanston Outreach team, and we also spend a lot of time working with at the different resource fairs. We find different vulnerable youth through that. And recently we've started to expand a little bit in terms of helping to identify youth who are vulnerable to homelessness if they are not homeless. We've also started to look at Kurt's Cafe to see what kind of youth may have some needs there as well. We're also working closely with the juvenile justice system and their probation officers. We're trying to keep kids out of the juvenile justice system, or if they are in the juvenile justice system, prevent them while helping them complete their probation. Another question you had is, what is the common outreach strategies? So in addition to spending time in different locations, we also make sure that we provide hygiene bags that contain a YOU water bottle that has a QR code on it. In the past, we have had business cards and pamphlets, and we've seen so many of those on the ground. Kids just discard them. But with the water bottles, we've been very fortunate because the kids will use the QR code. The QR code leads directly to our website, and they can reach out to us through that and understand the services we provide, and then we can return any requests they have through that system. Describe general outcomes for the 21 participants who exited and stopped receiving services. So our outcomes are based off of completed case plan. We do significant outreach and prevention, which is not just those 21. Those are in addition to the 21. The 21 are the ones who actually engage in more specific comprehensive case management, whether that be, for example, if a youth's family is struggling and the youth is in and out of homelessness because the home does not have sufficient, whether it's heating or furniture or things like that, we work to get that family their basic needs to help them in their housing stability. And so we've been very successful with that. So each case plan is different. It's geared towards different youth's needs. For example, we've also had youth who are homeless. They were asked to leave their home when they graduated from high school because they're 18. They have nowhere to go. We've worked with the YMCA for housing, as well as other landlords who will work with us with that 18 to 21-year-old population. But we're primarily working with the youth who are minors. You ask us to describe additional services that participants receive. We're fortunate to provide also gift cards to families as well as youth. So for example, if we have a homeless youth who is lacking in food stability, we will get them into permanent housing as quickly as possible. And then from there, we provide them with gift cards to Aldi's, for example. Now, a family, we would typically also provide them assistance in accessing food pantries and locating different places that provide free food. It's difficult for us to get older adolescents to go to those places. There's a level of, they're very self-conscious about it. And so gift cards seem to be more successful, as well as the refrigerators throughout Evanston. So we try to gauge it on what will be successful for that individual and their specific need. It's not a one size fits all. As I mentioned before, we do furnish homes through Chicago Furniture Bank. And YOU covers the cost for the delivery to the home. If you're not familiar with Chicago Furniture Bank, it's amazing. They will furnish an entire home for $300. And we will pay that $300 to help them get everything they need from linens, plates, everything. It's a really useful resource for us and the families. Are there common causes for increased demand? You know, they seem to be consistent. Part of it is a combination of low wages, that they're not earning a livable wage, or the lack of employment. That seems to be a significant piece to it. I would also tack onto that, especially youth who are leaving high school and turning 18, and a parent says, okay, you're on your own, that they need extra assistance with transitional living, because
Ms.
it's
Grace,
very
I
new
have to
to them.
ask you, I'm so sorry to have to interrupt you.
It's okay.
But I want to make sure that if the panel has any questions, that they can ask it and address some of the answers you've already given us.
Absolutely.
Questions? Go ahead.
Hi, can you tell me offhand what the number of households you served that actually need the housing services that you were talking about just now?
Furniture.
The homeless families? Or
Not necessarily homeless, but what number of households did you serve that need those services you were talking about as far as the furniture bank and any other items that they need for their home?
We serve on a monthly basis. We serve low-income families that are consistently coming to us, well over 30 families. A lot of those are coming through our out-of-school time program as well. That's
Okay.
monthly.
So around 30 households a month, you're
There
saying?
may be some duplication there.
Okay. And you said the furniture bank is $300 now and you guys cover it all?
Oh, not everybody's getting new furniture.
No. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about the furniture bank.
Yes,
You said the service cost is $300 now?
it does. Well, for delivery and everything, we have helped families with that. And with that particular service, we have helped, I believe, 4 families.
Okay. 4 families with that service you're talking about,
That
the furniture
specific
bank.
one, yes. Mhm.
Okay. And most of our babies are coming from the YLU programs, the after school programs?
You mean in terms of case management?
Yes, everything that you're talking about this
Oh,
evening.
actually, the majority of the referrals we get for safety net services come through ETHS and their high school students.
Okay. Thank you, because I wasn't sure
I'm
if you
sorry.
guys
Yeah.
served ETHS or not, but you did mention the older
Yes.
babies serving those.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Questions? I do have one other question. What are your hours of service at YOU?
So, when it comes to working with homeless youth, we're 24/7. We always have someone on call, to either go to the hospital or the police station or wherever the youth, has been identified. Otherwise, our services are generally for regular case management, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But we also will work into the evenings. We adjust our schedule based off the need of the family or the individual youth.
And how much of the language, how many languages do you have available for families as well as students coming in?
We have English and Spanish. However, we have had situations where there's a language other than English and Spanish, and we have worked with Heartland Alliance. In Chicago, they have an incredible team of translators of all sorts of languages I didn't know existed actually, that have been really helpful for us. So we do also contact Heartland Alliance if there is a situation where we can't communicate with the family.
Last question for me. Do you have a legal team to help the households with anything?
We do not, and we work with the Moran Center.
Oh, that was
Regarding
my
any
next question. Okay. Thank
We
you.
are, we rely so much on the Evanston agencies. We're part of Land 40, and we participate in that. We're also participating in the wraparound, Evanston wraparound program that they're initiating. So we work very closely with Peer Services, Connections for the Homeless, all the different agencies, because we can't do it ourselves, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. That is the last of our questions. If any more questions come from members of the dais, we will make sure that you get a copy of those. Thank you for your
Okay,
participation.
thank you.
I believe next on our list is Peer Services, Inc.
Anne, can you hear us? Noi, please let
Noi.
us know if you can hear us.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Noi Friel Lopez, CEO of Peer Services. Joining me online tonight is Anne Brown, our Development Director. Thank you so much for the opportunity tonight. You gave us 3 questions to address. The first is describe any Evanston-specific outreach efforts. Our efforts primarily are with and through our relationships with organizations throughout Evanston. The most recent example would be our partnership with Turning Point and Impact Behavioral Health Partners to open the new Evanston Living Room located just walking distance from St. Francis Hospital. Other examples include reaching folks through our support group at Connections for the Homeless, where we have a MARC counselor on site once a week. We also have a therapist at St. Francis Hospital's emergency department who also visits patients in the different units. We are a member of the Evanston Hospital Community Advisory Board. We also reach folks through education and training and presentations on peer services, including a mental health first aid training we've done for the members of the collective, the 9 youth serving organizations through Evanston Cradle Career. In the near future, we're collaborating with the YWCA and Erie to provide a trauma, domestic violence, and substance use training as well. We continue to reach out to other Evanston organizations like the Vet Center, practice managers at Evanston Hospital. Recently presented with our outreach engagement specialist, our manager presented at Evanston Own It. We've tabled at different events like Connections Block Party, as well as Bethel AME Community Health Fairs. We've done Narcan trainings to provide members of the community knowledge on how to use and recognize an overdose or use Narcan during an overdose. The second question was to describe our partnerships with Evanston partners. We are very close with the Evanston Police Department, especially with Commander Scott Silvier and Deputy Chief Secludi, who's also on our board. We provided Narcan trainings for the Evanston officers, which resulted in a officer saving a life just 5 days after he received the training. In fact, the EPD awarded our peer therapist the Citizens Award back in May for providing those trainings. With the City of Evanston, we work with youth and young adults through the collective. We provided prevention and art therapy programming at the Robert Crown After School Program last spring. And we participate in the monthly meetings with the care team. At ETHS, we continue to provide prevention and on-site early intervention services. We've served about 25 ETHS students on site at the school, as well as additional students through our treatment services at Peer. With District 65, we've created a prevention curriculum that's been implemented throughout District 65 middle schools. And this year, we've created prevention curriculum for the 4th grade classrooms across the district as well. I'll share that a dozen of Evanston organizations participated in Peer's Step Up for Recovery event this year in October, including the high school students at DTHS. The third question is describe any recent trends or changes in the needs of the participants. That's a great question. I think nationally, it's been great that we've seen the first times lowered numbers in terms of deaths related to opioid use. I think we attribute that to some of the Narcan that's available in the community and the trainings, but still waiting to see how that continues. Locally, we've seen more adult and adolescents needing treatment for substance use. Our therapist at ETHS has talked about an increase in the misuse of over-the-counter cough and allergy medications. Vaping continues to be something the students struggle with. And of course, we continue to see clients with complex trauma and needing basic services like housing. There's also been a 3% decline in Evanston in terms of overdose deaths. There were 82 opioid overdoses, both fatal and non-fatal, in Evanston in 2022. And that's it for the 3 questions. Happy to answer additional questions if there are any.
There are a few additional questions. Please be patient with us. One question I have is about, for the adults, medication monitoring and programs. Are you successful in keeping patients that are adults on their medication? And if so, how?
That's a great question. Yeah, for the most part, we've been able to be stable in terms of our census with the medication-assisted recovery clients. There are a handful who tend to leave for various reasons, including, trying a different program, and many do come back. I think our success there is the staff that we have at Peer, who are dedicated to not only the work, but the success of our clients and the relationship they've built with them. Our MAR team program manager has been with Peer for over 20 years, and our medical staff also have been there for at least 5.
Inclusion of your medical staff, is there an MD that's on the board or on staff?
We have 2 MDs on staff. One is our medical director and the other is our consulting psychiatrist. There are no MDs on the board at this time. We had one previously.
More questions. Thank you very much
Thank you so
for
much.
that enlightenment. If there are more questions that come from more of our partners on the dais, we will definitely forward them over to you through the staff here at
Thank
the
you.
city. Mm-hmm. North Shore Senior Center is next up on.
We have Mariah and Kathy Honeywell. Please let me know. I'm sorry, things are shifting around on me here. I need to boot Kyle out. Sorry, Kyle. All right, ladies.
Okay, can you hear both? This is Kathy Honeywell. Can Maura also talk at the same time?
I'm Maura Warneman, branch manager.
Perfect.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for coming this evening. You're getting a little bit of feedback, so someone might have to turn down the equipment.
Okay, I turned down my volume a little. Did that help?
We'll see. Okay. No. So I guess you'll have to talk one at a time. All right, ladies.
Okay, well, again, I'm Kathy Honeywell. I'm the Director of Senior and Family Services at North Shore Senior Center. Thank you for having us tonight. I'll launch right into the questions. And the first question was the approximate number of Evanston residents who contact the agency but don't receive benefits enrollment or additional services. Those people generally receive some kind of information and assistance. So from the January through June timeframe that we had been reporting on, that came out to 626 people who called just for information and assistance. The next two questions I can kind of roll together. What counts as a service, and what services do people receive on the phone? And we offer a host of many different programs, and so we count those programs as services. So it could be case management, that would be a face-to-face visit with somebody. Information and assistance is generally on the phone. Options counseling can either be in person or on the phone. All of our services to the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program are in person. There's some phone calls related, but most of the work is in person. Benefits counseling can either be by phone or people can come into the office for that. Tax assistance, people come to the office in the spring to have their taxes completed. Our friendly visiting program can either be by phone or in person. A lot of the caregiver programs are either in person or virtual. Our caregiver support group is virtual. Our lending closet, people come to the office to pick up durable medical equipment. Respite is provided either in people's home or in, we connect people to respite services either in the home or outside of the home. And again, a lot of the information and assistance is by phone. And depending on the program, some programs like information and assistance often is just 1 or 2 calls, but the case management services, options counseling, caregiver services, those are generally multiple phone calls or visits for that. For the average length of engagement, Maura, do you want to talk about that one?
Sure. Sorry, I think the feedback might be from me. So across in the first 6 months, the average amount of time spent per participant in Evanston was about 2.5 hours, but that's misleading in terms of gauging how much time may be invested in each person. As Kathy mentioned, there's a wide variety of programs, and so an information and assistance call is averaging 1/2 hour, but some of our respite services, they average 33 hours. So that it really varies widely across. The Grandparents Raising Grandchildren services often involve many, many hours. So really the number of hours served or provided through any given service really varies quite a lot.
And then the next question, 112 Evanston residents stopped receiving services. Define a successful exit. Really, a successful exit, our goal is to help people remain in their homes as long as possible. And so a successful exit is either somebody basically is able to live in their home until they die, or until they're no longer able to get all of their needs met at home. And in some cases, a successful exit is when we're providing services to a family caregiver and we're able to provide counseling and respite and other services to that caregiver until their care receiver is no longer living. And then that's been a successful exit in a situation like that. Estimate the percent of Evanston participants who exited based on needs met, which is success, versus the number exited based on attrition. And that's really difficult to ascertain based on like our idea of what's a successful case. that, for it being closed. Most of our cases close because the person has either died, they've gone to a nursing home, or their goals were met. So, and in a smaller percentage, it's because they've moved away or they've, their circumstances have changed and they've decided they don't want services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me open this up to the people on the dais and see if there are any questions about the services you provide, especially since so much of your population may have mobility issues. So I will let people ask questions. Language questions or mobility. Do you have a language capability? Because all of your seniors, I'm sure, do not speak English.
Kathy, I can speak to that.
Okay.
We do about a quarter of our clients speak more than one language, and clients speak about 32 different languages. We have 17 staff members who speak 13 different languages. So staff are pulled in to do, we will pair people with care coordinators who speak the same language where possible. And then we will pull in other staff to provide translation services, both for in-person or for any kind of text or flyers or emails as needed. And we also, as need for anyone who doesn't speak a language that's available at North Shore Senior Center, we have partnerships with the class agencies who can provide translation as needed for people who speak other languages.
Thank you so much for that information. We appreciate it. Thank you, ladies, for your patience and answering the questions. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I believe our next social service agency is Interfaith Action. And for Interfaith, Sue Murphy.
Yes, hi, I'm Susan Murphy Burby, the Executive Director of Interfaith Action. And I don't know if there I am again. So our first question, and I have laryngitis, so I'm trying to speak loudly. Have there been any changes or fluctuations to participant needs? And overall, no, they've maintained the same level of needs. But then there are days like today where they needed umbrellas and they needed warm hats and gloves. So we try to provide for them whatever they might need in that area, depending on what the weather is. The other question, does the population receiving services remain stable or fluctuate? And it has remained very stable over the years. At our morning center, we get about 35 to 40 people every day. Our overnight shelter has 30 beds and it opened a month ago. And it is pretty stable, meaning people don't want to lose their beds. So they can stay as long as they want, as long as they don't miss 2 nights in a short period of time. And then the bed goes to someone else. So people rarely leave. The happy thing is many of them, when they do leave, are going to the Margarita, which is certainly better than a shelter that opens at 9 o'clock at night, or they're going to housing. So it stays pretty much the same. Unfortunately, we have 46 people on our wait list. So, we would love to be able to serve more people. It's pretty awful that there are 46 people who are sleeping outside tonight.
Oh my God. Thank you for that information. I will open it up to the people in the dais if they have any questions.
No questions, just thank you. For all of you guys for sticking around and answering our questions and for the work that you do and reminding us about the importance of this.
Is that me? Oh, okay. Is there any plan to expand any of the services that you do, opening up another shelter or anything like that, Ms. Murphy? Just out of curiosity.
We're always hoping to expand. When we started, we were only open when the temperature was 0 degrees. And that was about 15 years ago. So we are up to 9 different faith communities who give us space. And so we're up to 31 weeks, but it isn't enough. We are in conversations with Connections for the Homeless about ways that we could partner with them to have a 12-month shelter, because that is our goal. But even if that happens, we still will have, these there'll be 30 beds, and there still will be 46 people who will not have shelter. So we'll continue to work with the different faith communities in the downtown area to have them provide more weeks. Right now, we have one faith community that gives us 6 weeks. The rest of them give us 3 to 4 weeks. So we continue to work on it, because we're open all the winter nights from the beginning of October to the end of May, but people shouldn't have to sleep outside in July or August either.
Mm-hmm. My God, thank you very much. And as many others have said to you, I'm sure you've heard before, thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting us.
Next is the Infant Welfare Society of Evanston. Stephen Vick. Pamela Staples.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. So my name is Stephen Vick. I'm the Executive Director of the Infant Welfare Society, and Pamela Staples, the Site Director of Baby Toddler Nursery, is also here with me. And
Hi, I'm a little hoarse. Sorry.
No worries. So we're going to kind of tackle these questions together. I'm going to start out, and then Pam's going to give any insight and nuance after I go. So in terms of, we have both case management and safety net services. And I wanted to clarify that we focused both of these on our 55 early Head Start slots. Those are at both Baby Toddler has 39 slots for early Head Start, and Teen Baby Nursery has 16 slots. So that's really the core focus. We do serve other families that aren't in early Head Start. We have a total of 86 families that are in our classroom-based programs, but the focus is on the early Head Start families, which are the most challenged families. In terms of case management, your first question was to describe general goals accomplished that would indicate a successful exit. And I would say that, our family advocate works with each of the parents of these children, and all of the plans that we do, the service plans, are all individualized. So a general goal for one family might be housing needs, might be trying to attain a college education. It might be an issue of food insecurity. It might be something related to building a better understanding and relationship with their child. So the goals are very different with each parent and each family member. And so I would say that that's, in terms of a successful exit, it's, are they accomplishing the goals in their service plan? So some people may have multiple goals. Some people only have 1 or 2 goals, and those are always looked at by our family advocate on a regular basis. So they're in constant contact to change goals. And if someone attains a job or attains something they were trying to achieve, they may move on to the next goal. So that's how we work with in terms of our, successful exits. Go ahead, Pam.
Can I also say, but also during that process and at the beginning of enrollment, our family advocate will try to do also, again, like Stephen mentioned, there might be some issues of housing. There might be some issues of, parents wanting to take ESL classes. So we do sort of a needs assessment in the beginning of that enrollment to find out how can we set those goals with families based on their needs.
Yeah, definitely. The second part of the case management question, you said, what ongoing support or exit information is provided to participants exiting services without reaching their goals? So first of all, just to understand, our focus with the families is the duration of the time the child is with us in care. So that could be almost 3 years. We're focused on 0 to 3. We do have a pre-K classroom, so some families could stay with us longer, but predominantly it's about 3 years. And so when the child ages out, that's when the parent moves on to another program, either a pre-K program or another program in the community. Parents can leave sooner. There have been issues where a parent has left. Basically, it could be a housing issue, could be maybe they move, those sorts of things. But in terms of the support that we provide at 2.5 years before a transition, so 6 months before a transition, we have a very comprehensive plan in place with the family to have the child matriculate into the next program. At that point, the service plan is also assessed with the family. So they'll get a comprehensive kind of awareness of the different partners that we work with, the different opportunities that they have. If they haven't accomplished a goal, where could they be referred? The focus is definitely on the child's next educational landing point, but obviously in terms of case management and the family, we're going to help provide those resources as best we can, even as they're transitioning out. I don't know if Pam, you want to add anything?
I think you said everything that I wanted to say. So like Stephen said, we utilize, when parents, through that need assessment, we utilize some of the resources that we have within the community to sort of support the families in their efforts just throughout the 3 years that their child may be in our program. And just like Stephen mentioned, at 2.5, we began to have those conversations with families because we know that their child will leave our program, or like you said, can potentially stay if we have a space in our pre-K program. I wish that we can keep all of our children in our program. However, we can't because of licensing regulations. But we do support them throughout that time through a transition to move on to the next phase in their development.
I think a great example is, we're one of the leading members of the Evanston Early Childhood Council, and we've developed a resource guide that we give to all of our parents actually on intake, but we also give it to them on exit because there's a lot of great information in that resource guide, not only related to other programs that their children can go to, but other services, other partner organizations that could provide resources, therapies, speech pathologist, all those kind of things that we do with our children during the time they're with us. We also provide those resources in that one guide, which I think is pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that information. Let me open this up to the members of the dais and ask if they have any questions that they would like to ask at this time. One question that comes to mind is staffing. Could you give us a brief understanding of the staffing, continued education for your staff for those 3 to 0 children, as well as how you're able to keep staff or recruit staff to keep doing the good work that you do?
Sure. I mean, I think in terms of the case management, we have consultants. So there's a nurse that we work with, behavioral specialist, disability specialist, mental health professional, and then of course our teachers. The largest challenge we have right now is there's a teacher shortage. And so we actually have one of our classrooms closed down because we have difficulty finding qualified teachers. So that's a national problem, but certainly a problem in Evanston also. So that's the way I would answer that, is we have our consultants that are the more professional services that we're providing, and that's more related to the safety net. But in terms of teaching staff, that's really been a challenge, and the turnover in our teacher assistants has been the largest challenge.
But I want to
Thank-
also add, we are fortunate enough to have a staff and teaching staff that has been with our program for a very, very long time, which provides a lot of consistency and predictability for children each and every day.
Thank you.
Should we address the safety net questions now?
Yes, you should.
Sure.
Uh,
So,
I have to remind you, we are short on time, so if you could,
go quickly.
Renee has a question. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. We got buttons and stuff up here. Be patient with us. My first night as chairman, and we got a lot of buttons up here. Hold on one second. Renee, ask your question.
Hi, are you guys still located, and I apologize for not knowing this right now, are you guys still located inside of Family Focus?
No, so actually, our teen baby nursery has been there since 1989, and this year, as of 3 months ago, we just moved 2 blocks away to the corner of Simpson and Ashland, and that was a decision because of the pending construction that's happening in the Family Focus building. So we signed a 3-year lease in a beautiful new space, and we'll be there for at least the 3 years that we signed the lease, and we'll see what happens with the Family Focus building after that.
That was where my question was going with the new building that's being built.
Yeah, I
So
think,
you on Simpson and Ashland?
yeah, right on the corner, literally across from where the new Foster School is being built. So we're literally 2 blocks away from where we were. The goal is to move back into the Family Focus building. I believe strongly in the community center that is, and that will continue to be, but I can't, until we find out when the construction timeline is, what their new rates for rental is, we can't make that decision at this point. But we are hopeful to move back in the building if that is amenable to us.
Are you guys at the church or across the street?
No, it's the old Fanny's. It is
Yeah, okay.
literally across
Yeah,
the street.
you're right there.
Yeah, unit 1 and
Okay.
2. It's a beautiful space.
It is. Okay, thank you.
For us long-time Evanstonians, it's the Fanny's Restaurant.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So I was just gonna say, I'll go quickly with the safety net. Is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the question is, explain the need for increased consultant services, and are some services needed more than others? And so really what we've seen is an uptick of needs since COVID. And I think you've seen that across the board in social services, but certainly in the development of children. We've seen a higher increase of disability services, regulation, all those sorts of things. I'll actually let Pam talk about this a little more.
Okay, so I would kind of piggy off of Steve. Post-COVID, we found that there has been an increase, an increased need for our consultants because we have had to refer children at high numbers, particularly in the area of language, communication, and social emotional dysregulation. And each of our consultants plays a critical role in helping us to support children that may qualify for services or may not qualify for services. But we do use like a comprehensive approach to supporting the children within our program through a multidisciplinary meeting that we do bi-weekly, where where the consultants talk with the teachers. They need more increased time to come into the classrooms to observe. They need more increased time to talk to parents, because again, we have had a high numbers of referring children to early intervention. And so I feel like that's why their time has been needed to be increased, because they're working with 2 center-based programs, My Program Baby Toddler and Teen Baby Nursery as well.
And that kind of feeds into the last question you asked, which is, do consultants provide caregiver staff support similar to CNE's Learning Together model? And so what Pam just shared is our consultants do go into the classrooms. They do have multidisciplinary teams and work with teachers. They are meeting with parents as well, but it's really not the same as Learning Together. Learning Together through CNE is a specialized program where staff come out to various early childhood programs and spend really focused time with teachers, working on behavioral dysregulation, social emotional issues. So it's not quite the same as CNE's Learning Together program, but our consultants in safety net services do work with our staff, do support our staff, do provide kind of resources and information and I would say backup for our teaching staff as well.
Thank you very much for that. If there are any further questions, of course, we will provide you those questions through our very capable staff here.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
The next organization that is going to respond to us is the Impact Behavioral Health Partners. And that is Ms. Warshaw, Director in Clinical Services. Pam.
Can you hear me?
Lauren. Is this Lauren?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for coming.
Perfect, yes.
And go right ahead.
Okay, perfect. I know we have a handful of questions that you guys had, so I want to go through that as quickly as I can. So the first question you had was, or this wasn't first, I'm going to change the order because it makes more sense to address it in this way. We did have changes to the program since the initial application. At first, we attempted to have multiple staff on the project, but we found that resulted in less effective outreach and engagement because they had other responsibilities that they were attending to and had less ability to be familiar with all the local agencies and resources. So as of October 1st, we have one full-time case manager that is dedicated solely to serving Evanston residents and building the relationships with the different service providers and local organizations here. So that focus, it just allows for a lot better services overall. The outreach efforts that you had asked for and locations and schedules, a lot of that right now is the monthly meeting. So the staff attends the LAN 40 meetings, the Community Resources Coalition, the community outreach team meetings. So those are all within like different population focuses in Evanston. They're also presenting coming up at one of the LAN 40 meetings. So we'll be able to get our programs out there. They've also met with staff from general assistance at the city, and they're in contact with the social workers at the schools and plan to meet with library staff as well. In terms of tracking the efforts, that's on the staff schedule, and that's something that that staff member discusses in supervision with our clinical supervisor on a weekly basis. Referrals are also tracked, so presumably as more referrals come in, we will see those efforts on our tracked referral sheets that we have. In terms of how the partners are selected, we typically direct staff towards opportunities that we feel like improve awareness of our services and thus improve the community access. So right now we're working on increasing awareness specifically with this program and the availability of it. So it's just building the referral relationships with those organizations and making sure they know that we are an available referral partner. And we're always open to new opportunities or suggestions there if anyone has that. We do not have MOUs with the partner agencies. We simply just offer that opportunity to refer. So that doesn't really require an MOU. And then outreach challenges. I don't know necessarily that we've had a lot of challenges with the outreach. It just takes a little bit to build a referral stream. We do have, I think, 29 people on this case manager's caseload right now. We also have referrals that come just from community members through our website or our intake line. And we are going to lots of the tabling events. There were a lot more that had been mentioned in previous presentations that we went to, the Peer Step Up to Recovery, the Connections Block Party, the Land Resources Fair. So like there's less of those now as it gets colder and there's not as many events to go to, but that's something we will definitely prioritize when those come around again. I think those are all the specific questions If there's anything
You
else.
absolutely hit everyone. Are there any questions here from the dais? No further questions at this time. However, if any questions come up, we will definitely forward them to you through our capable staff here at the city.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I believe Family Focus is next. Ms. Joanne Avery.
Oh, wow. Hello. How's everyone?
Hello, Miss Avery. How are you?
I'm
Welcome.
fine, thank you. Okay,
Good.
I am the case manager for Family Focus. And you asked me several questions, but I'm ready.
All
So
right. Well, let's do this.
Okay, so the first question was common challenges. Okay, so and what was some of the trends? So more participants this cycle are describing active symptoms of depression and anxiety and joblessness. So they're going through some things, but I was able to use Skylight as our professional services, and because of the diverse staff that they have, and reaching out to I'm so sorry, I'm just driving home. I'm so sorry. Reaching out to Turning Point. Several of my clients have gotten services through Skylight. Now they're wanting to have more family counseling. They had individual counseling, so now they want family counseling. And Skylight has been such an added resource for us. We also tailor our activities to maintenance of mental health and expressive arts and strategies such as writing and symptoms relief. So we do a lot of workshops on writing so that they can talk about their feelings, bring out things that they're going through. We have a therapist that comes in and do that activity with them, and they're asking more of that. So that's great. That works with their anxiety. Question 2 was describe the outcomes for 23 participants. Some of the participants that we got, they exit because they only wanted one-time service assistance. Clothes, diapers, information on housing. They didn't want to stay in the program, which is okay. Others left with more long-term ideas for maintenance, connections with outside community resources, or treatment for mental health issues, which is the #1 priority. The next question was describe general service plans updates. So service plans are done every 3 months. Case notes document services provide and ongoing plans. Future appointments or plans are made, such as phone check-ins, questions to be answered by text. A lot of them do text messaging. What else? You have 2 more. Okay. Describe outreach. Outreach are done with a variety of locations. District 65, Evanston Township High School, resource fairs, land meetings, social service organizations, regular informational and resources are made available to all clients. How do new participants learn about services? The above activities, new participants learn about activities through community organizations, civic meetings, and talk to members by word of mouth. I talk to them about program and generate internal referrals, flyers, talk to social workers. My clients are really more getting to be more high school youth, reaching out on their own, of course, first, and then I talk to the parents. Those are, I was talking fast because I just drove fast. I'm so sorry.
Please don't get a ticket.
I
Please.
know my internet was going out. But any more questions for me?
I'm opening it up to the dais to see if there are any more questions. At this time, there are no more questions. However, I do have a statement.
Yes.
I know that due to the loss of your of our founder that Family Focus
Yes.
has generational history with
Yeah.
all of Evanston, not just the Fifth Ward.
Yeah.
We are very sorry for the loss of many of our one of our biggest mentors for many people here in Evanston and a few folks here on this dais. So our hearts and prayers are still with you. And thank you all for the work that you do.
Can you hear
Thank
me?
you so much. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, that being said, I wanted to say, hey, Miss Joanne, this is Renee. I don't know if you can see me or not.
Yeah, don't forget me either. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Miss Vanessa. I know you were talking.
Hi,
No, I was just saying hello, Miss Joanne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Miss Joanne.
Hi.
Hey, okay, that was it.
Okay. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I'm so sorry for interrupting. That was really nice. This is Vanessa Allen. I'm the current Center Director of Family Focus, Evanston. And I thank Ms. Joanne. She really did a great job of explaining the questions that you had for her. And I appreciate the words regarding Ms. Holmes. That is a huge loss for all of us as well. And so I wanted to just say that I was here to support, and if there was any other questions that I could answer as well.
Ms. Vanessa, Ms. Allen, we will definitely, if there are further questions, we will send them to you through our staff here at the City of Evanston. Ms. Joanne did address, everyone calls her Miss Joanne, so
Right. Which is
I'm
what
not
I
being
kind of wanted to
disrespectful.
point out.
Everybody knows her as Miss Joanne.
Yes, which I wish she would have said as part of her outreach. The word of mouth has a lot to do with her.
Yes, Lord. Yes, yes. So if there are any further questions that come from my peers here on the dais or my peers that are not here on the dais today, we will definitely forward them to you. And thank you again, and we appreciate the work that you all do in representing all of Evanston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe next we have the Child Care Network of Evanston. Correct. I don't.
Hello, good
Is
evening.
that-
This is Carolyn. Are you able to hear me?
Just a little bit louder, Carolyn, but yes, we're able to hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Carolyn. I'm the programs manager for Child Care Network of Evanston. Thank you for having us. Just let me know if you need me to speak any louder at any point along here. I currently manage our mental health services grant, and we received one question for that grant. I know you all had sent some questions for our other program as well, Learning Together, and my colleague Deepa will answer those following my information. For mental health, the only question you all asked was about fluctuation in demand for services in the past 6 months or past year. And interestingly, there's not a lot. The same time period in 2023, March to currently, versus the same time period this year, March to current, is about the same number of referrals. From in March of 2023 to December of 2023, we had 30. And in 2024, we've had 33. One difference is that during that time period in 2023, our referrals came from 5 different childcare centers, and this year we're up to 9. So I think that's a good indication that our reach is a little bit bigger this year, and that we've been able to get referrals from more community partners.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
to answer any other questions you have about the program.
Are there any other questions on the dais? Thank you very much. With that lead in, I guess we will go to Learning Together.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deepa Mehta. I'm the Director of Programs at CNE. You all sent a few questions for the Learning Together program, so I'll just go through those. The first question is, which childcare providers are served under this program, and have there been any changes? So all Evanston-based childcare centers and family childcare providers can refer to the Learning Together program. And we are working with many of the same centers as last year, but there are also many new programs and new providers that have been referring to us. And since January, we have received referrals from 9 programs in the community. The next question is, does the program work with the same, it says caregivers in these questions. I had let Jessica know that it should be children. So I'm going to change that word to children. Does the program work with the same children year after year? The program works with some of the same children if more support is needed, but the Learning Together program is designed to be something called consultative services. So the consultants work with the programs, children, and parents for unlimited amount of time. For example, the consultants meet with the program staff, observe in the classroom or classrooms, create a plan for teachers, meet with teachers to review the plan with resources and strategies on how to work with children and support children in the classroom, and help teachers implement them. So there could be modeling as well. And then the plan can include meeting with parents as needed. And at times the Learning Together services can be a bit longer due to referrals that are being made to the school districts for special services. And let's see, the next question is how are children identified and prioritized? So children are identified by teachers and or site directors, program staff at the centers or our programs based on classroom observations they may have done, developmental screenings, or even parent concerns. And in terms of prioritizing, we are prioritizing basically all children that need additional support. And yeah, so, and then is there ongoing support for children? So children, teachers, and parents receive ongoing support during the consultative time. But centers are welcome after that consultative time is complete. They are welcome to reach back out to the consultants to ask for further assistance because their referral would remain active throughout the year. So they are able to reactivate it, I guess you could say. And how is demand for services prioritized? So we aim to serve majority of families that are 80% below the median income and Evanston residents, of course. All of our programs, as I stated, are in Evanston, but they serve many families that are non-Evanston as well. So we keep a very close eye, Carolyn actually mostly, keeps a very close eye on all of our referrals to ensure that we are serving majority of lower income families and Evanston residents. And we, if we need to, we will put families on the wait list if we're not, if we take them and that means we would go, we wouldn't have as many children or families that are low income or Evanston residents. So that's how we prioritize, and the needs are all over the place. So again, we feel that any need that a child has that is going to help them be successful in the classroom is a priority to us.
I understand. Thank you very much. One question I have is, are there students, are there children, are there families on the wait list currently? And if so, how many?
Carolyn, can you answer that?
Yeah, currently there are not any children on the wait list. Every referral received has been sent to the Learning Together team. Sometimes the team will take longer to outreach to the center to start meeting with the family and the child and the teachers. But they're not on the wait list. They're just the team is working through the connections with the programs.
And that usually happens when there's an influx of referrals all at the same time.
Right.
So the consultants need just a little bit more time to reach out as they complete their support for that program they're already working with.
And on average, the care for a child that you see goes from year to year, or goes from 3 to 6 months? What is the?
Do you mean the age range?
No, the time that you work with them, but I will take age range as well.
Okay, sure. I'll start with the age. We serve children 2 to 5 years old, so early, right before they enter kindergarten. And in terms of how long, it depends on the child's need and what the severity of that need is, what the teachers are needing for the classroom. Sometimes we can provide professional development to teachers. So the term learning together, it's kind of literal, like the consultants, the teachers, the parents are all learning together to support the child, whether mostly in the classroom, but it could be at home as well if things that are happening at home are reflected in the classroom. So consultants have been at centers probably minimum 2 weeks, but they've also been at centers for, I think, up to 6 weeks. So again, it just depends on how many kids that center has referred to us and the severity of each of those referrals.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm opening it up for questions from people in the dais. At this time, there are no questions. However, if there are questions that come after this meeting, of course, we will funnel them through our partners and staff here at the City of Evanston.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
We appreciate your support.
Thank you. We are now at the end of our list, and we are going to speak to Kyle from Books and Breakfast.
Hello.
Hello and welcome. How are you?
I'm well. I'm Kyle Hanawalt. I am the interim executive director at Books and Breakfast. Grateful to be here and grateful for the support of the city. Have some questions here that I'll jump into. I'll answer the first two together as they are both talking about our Family Advisory Board. It's describe the contributions of our Family Advisory Board and how was our board formed and how does it operate. So our Family Advisory Board is made up, we are in 8 different schools in Evanston. It's made up of a collection of parents representing those different schools. They were picked by site directors, as our site directors have consistent communication and relationship with our parents at minimum once a month in just checking in with the family. And so they recommended parents that thought would be would want the opportunity to be able to give some voice back. And that board has 3 primary functions, and I'll mention the contributions in each area, or at least an example of them. The first is internal feedback for us as an organization to make sure that we are, in fact, serving our families as well as we can be. One of the results of this internal feedback is parents were appreciating not just the tutoring, but the relationship and mentorship piece of their students' connection with our Northwestern students. We have over 200 Northwestern students that are coming into Evanston schools each week. And so parents were asking, is there more of that? And as a result of that, we are creating this May a trip for our 5th graders to be able to go visit Northwestern and actually see a classroom, a performance, dorms, etc., so that not only will that be further connection with our Northwestern students, but also be an experience to be able to see a college campus. And along with that is a series of conversations and questions about helping them think about what they want in their life and whether college is a part of that. And it's cool to have them be able to see the mentors that they work with all week in that process. The second part of that is function of our advisory board is to get specific feedback at the local school level. And this is done by site directors, giving this communication back to usually principals. One example from this last year is, if we can remember, there was several lockdowns that happened in the district last year. And we had at some of our schools, the parents felt very not the fullness of communication and didn't know fully what was going on as they heard through the news that schools were being locked down. And now it enabled us to be able to go to principals at these schools and communicate those parents' feedback and advocate for a different and more comprehensive communication system so that those types of things wouldn't happen again. The third function of our family advisory board is to give feedback at a district level, as we're in conversation with many people at the district level. So most recently meeting with a couple of our district partners our families were feeling confused, particularly in our North Evanston schools, at the status and process of the opening of the Fifth Ward school. Our families, even though there was lots of communication going out, a lot of that was done via email, which was not a very successful communication method for our families. And so to be able to go to the district and communicate that, we did have families that still had some uncertainty and didn't know where to go with that, and then communicate a desire to have people have some communication that was going to come to them in forms other than email. There's lots and lots of other examples, but those are just 3 there. The next question is, how were books for our summer reading program selected? So every summer, our students get between 16 to 24 books in 3 packages sent home to them, and those books are selected in a multi-step process. The first part of that process is getting feedback from their classroom teacher as to what their current reading level is, and understanding, as well as areas of interest, that we go to students and get that feedback. Those reading levels allow us to know what level of book to choose for students, not just based off of grade, but their specific placement. Then we work with a reading specialist and have a couple of people on our staff who have expertise in reading levels to then help guide our site directors with the combination of the teacher and student feedback form to get specialized books that are appropriate level, but also intersecting with our students' specific interests. And then also we have staff members that have a real expertise in understanding representation and making sure that those books are reflective of our students. And so that's the process of that selection, to make sure that each student is not just getting general books, but none of our packages will look alike. Each child will have, all of their packages will be crafted for them based off of interest and level. The last question was, describe key performance indicators and how they are measured. For us as an organization, we believe that in order for students to experience academic success and to be able to address the issues of educational inequity, that it is certainly about access to resources. And so we certainly have measurements there, but in order for that to really be an experience where a child is gonna find success in their schooling, there has to be also an experience of belonging, an experience of mentorship and support from adults around them that are pouring narratives into who they are. And so we have measurements on all of these. So in terms of just access to food, we count each day, our site directors, as each meal is being distributed. We count that, and last year was over 15,000 meals. On the academic side of things, in the morning program, we do surveys of teachers, parents, and students. And according to those teacher surveys, 85% of our students improved their homework completion, and over 93% of our students improved their reading skills. But beyond that is also speaking to that place of connection and belonging. So at the base value is we just count how many tutors we have and how many tutor hours we have, as we see those as not just tutoring, but mentor roles as well, building in those communities of connection in the morning. And so over 400 tutors this last year provided over 5,000 hours of tutoring. And then on our parent and student feedback forms had the communication that 95% of our families communicated that because of Books and Breakfast, they felt a greater sense of belonging in their school building. And in terms of that narrative part of how students see themselves, over 93% of our students said that through their participation in Books and Breakfast, it increased their belief that they can succeed and the belief that the work that they put in will pay off. We also have our summer program, which is a literacy intensive using iReady, which is a program that the district uses in its academic skill centers for literacy. And that one has a pre and post diagnostic that will show reading gains. And for the 3rd summer in a row, our 6-week literacy program saw over 6 months of reading growth. But again, it's not just about the the raw growth. It's also about how the student experiences learning, which is why we were very pleased that over 90% of our students said that through the summer program, they enjoyed reading more and felt more confident in seeing themselves as readers. So those are my questions, and appreciate your time and letting me share.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn on my button. I told you we have several buttons up here. Thank you, Mr. Hanawalt. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. I would like to ask, what is some of the feedback that you get from the Northwestern tutors?
Well, so we do a survey at the end of the year from our Northwestern tutors, but we also have a lot of ongoing opportunities. So the three examples that we've gotten at the end of this last year, one of them was a student that said Books and Breakfast was the best part of their Northwestern experience. And a second one said it's the part that made them feel most grounded in their entire Northwestern experience. As you're in an institution like that, particularly for our Northwestern tutors who are first generation college students, the ability to go into Evanston and have those moments that are not about passing tests is that, you know, in terms of their own experience, it's incredibly positive. And then maybe lastly, I'll just say we've had several Northwestern tutors of ours who changed career trajectory through their experience at Books and Breakfast. Somebody who was an engineering major and then realized they wanted to become a teacher, is now a teacher in Skokie. We have an ex-tutor who's now actually a social worker at the high school. And so I think the impact on our Northwestern students is profound. And it's actually, I think, one of the pieces that often we don't talk enough about, because those are some students that are going to go on and have real impact in this world.
Thank you. Hold on one moment. We have another question.
Hello, I am curious about if you provide services to students that do not speak English or English learners.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, we are in Washington, Willard, and Dewey that are all TWE schools. And all of those schools have bilingual staff, and we work very hard to recruit bilingual tutors as well. And so in terms of the academic and I would say just mentorship support in both English and Spanish in all three of those schools is incredibly present. On top of that, when we did our family advisory board, we use translation to be able to allow first language Spanish speakers to participate in that. But beyond that, we also have some families that speak lots of different languages other than that. So we had a Haitian family that we were able to work with social workers to make sure that we were getting translation support, particularly for their family. At a Walker Elementary School, we have several students whose first language is Urdu, and which we had a site director who's bilingual in Urdu. And so if we don't have somebody on staff that is able to speak a language of our family, the part of our work where we have over 400 partners and our tutors that come in every day, as well as our partnership with the district, enables us to ensure that if language is a barrier for any of our families, that we can remove that barrier by finding somebody that's already in our network that can help make sure that they're getting the support that they need and the advocacy in the school that they deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and answering our questions. I will tell you, as I've told everyone else here and online, that if any further questions come from the dais, we will forward them to you through our very capable City of Evanston partnership. And we look forward to meeting with you again. I think that pretty much concludes all of the questions and the organizations for this evening. Is that correct? At this point, we can then ask if there is any public comment As you know, we do public comment in the beginning of the meeting as well as at the end of our meeting to make sure that people are able to have their voices heard. If you are online, please raise your hand so that the staff can get you involved. Okay, well, with that, we will go into the staff report. Thank you very much. And we're almost at the end, so hang in there with us for a little while longer, people. We're almost there.
Thank you so much, Steph. Just wanted to mention that in the packet, in addition to recommendations, we have the allocation sheet, and that is what we will be discussing at the December meeting. This is a renewal year. Happy to answer any questions about that in December. I also wanted to talk briefly about Envision Evanston, which is available in draft form. There are 9 sections to Envision Evanston. In case you need topics for holiday discussions, please feel free to take a look. There's a survey, so people can find out more information on the Envision Evanston website. Take this survey that is specific to each section of Envision Evanston. There will be ongoing town halls. There is one coming up in December, and public meetings where that is still under discussion. So the key to Envision Evanston is that it is in draft form and open for discussion. There is, even if people go to the Envision Evanston website, there is a link to find out more information. And if people want to get involved, you can even sign up to meet with staff for 30 minutes to ask questions. So please feel free to do that. That is the end, I think, of my staff comment. I think that's all anyone can handle. Oh, that's an excellent point. Would the committee please take a moment? I apologize. Going back to the allocation discussion in December, would people like to send recommendations to me? I can compile those recommendations and present that as the basis for discussion. Or do we feel like it's a renewal year and we have enough information to go on?
I don't know if I have the button on or not. Personally, I would like everyone's feedback on the recommendations for allocation, please.
Great. Could people commit to then sending that to staff so I can compile it by December 6th? Yes, that would be lovely.
Will you send out an email with that request?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
December 6th.
Turn it back in on December 6th. Got it. Also, was that it for you guys? Because I have one more thing to add. I know some people, I know Mercedes has some statements that she would like to make about different events that are coming up. I would also, I know we don't usually do this, but I would also like to know if there are any other events that people would like to share with us right now and the community.
A question.
Okie dokie. And then we still have questions coming in,
Sorry,
y'all. Go right ahead, Mercedes. Hit it.
Okay, this is going to be very brief. Just would like to share with you some events. And the first one on December 5th at ATHS, we're going to have the Latino Advisory Committee will host an event about adolescent mental health in Spanish, part 2, from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Welcome Center, East 112. And we're going to have a bilingual psychiatrist and a school psychologist. And also we're going to have on December 7th, this is hosted by Latinos in Evanston North Shore. We host celebrations for our Latino seniors. This is going to be on December 7th. It's a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And to honor their legacy, their contributions to society and to the Latino family, also in Spanish. And on December 17th, please, I would like you to share this with your audiences and clients and contacts and colleagues. We're going to have our first Know Your Rights at YWCR. This is hosted by Latinos in Evanston North Shore from 6:30 to 8:30. Due to the current situation, information is power, and this is going to be in Spanish again. And the host is Latinos in Evanston North Shore. Any questions, please contact Mercedes. Thank you.
You also have one question. Was there any other announcements from the audience that?
There's a hand.
One in the back, yes. Connections to the homeless.
Our regional housing association, it's called AHAND. It's a part of the Alliance to End Homelessness of Suburban Cook County, is hosting their annual legislative breakfast on the morning of December 11th. If anybody's interested, I'll send information along to the staff here. It's a riveting session, and we anticipate there to be a lot of great conversations. So would invite anybody to come through.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is actually a question for Meals on Wheels. So my understanding is that staff is not recommending to renew that grant for this upcoming year. And since we're providing recommendations in advance of the next meeting, I wanted to just see if there was an opportunity for you to sort of explain what that might mean for your organization and potentially concerns there.
Well, any funding loss is a matter of concern. We're not limited in terms of demand. There's essentially unlimited demand from our perspective for our service. We do our best to raise money so we can provide more home delivered meals for the people who need them. So it would affect our service. We'd have to find the money elsewhere or not provide the service. So it would matter. I understand the staff's concern, and I'm happy to talk with them or with others about where we're at and what we're trying to do to improve the delivery of service that meets the needs of Evanston a little more directly. But that would answer your question.
Yeah, I do think perhaps exploring, is there a way for the funding from Evanston to sort of prioritize Evanston residents to get meals? Like if they're on the waiting list, could we, if Evanston's providing funding, could that funding be used to get those members off of the wait list or something like that? I do think I would be interested in exploring that.
I hope the answer to that question is yes. I think that's something I'd have to talk to the staff about how we can do that, but I understand the question. I have a list of other things that came up today that I'd like to provide answers to, and I'll add that to the list.
Perfect. And the sooner you could provide that back to us so that we can take that into account would be very much appreciated, though I recognize things take time and the holidays are.
Yeah, no, I understand the urgency of it. That's not lost on me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the end of our program. Thank you very much for your time and your energy. And thank you for your presentations and answering the questions. Thank you for bearing the weather. Hopefully it is still not snowing, but maybe it's still windy. Please be safe on your ride home. If you have any other communications, please feel free to contact the committee and we will try to answer them as best we can. I made it through my first night, y'all. All right. Be safe going home. Thank you very much for all your time.
And I just thank everybody for your patience with their technical issues.
Almost got me, girl.